5 p.m. Tuesday, May 27th. The Board of Trustees of the Porte Independent School District now convene. Notice of this meeting was posted in compliance to the Texas Open Meetings Act at 5 p.m. Friday. The subjects to be discussed or considered upon which formal action may be taken have been listed. Let the record show a quorum is present. At this time, we'll stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Now our invocation by Ms. Thompson.
Me again? I didn't realize it was me.
It's okay.
No, it's okay.
God is good.
I got it. Yeah. Lord, we come to you with grateful hearts as we gather today to discuss the future of our district. Please help us all come up with great ideas and look with discernment as we plan for the future of our district. Thank you for our teachers, our students, and our wonderful community that continues to bless all of us. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. The board will now hear those who wish to make comments and complete and return the public comment participation request. The section will be conducted according to the Texas Open Meetings Act, and board policy complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed to those channels. I checked, but we don't have any registered speakers, so we will move on to item 4, action discussion items. Approve the purchase of contracted services to expand the ECC program at Heritage Elementary.
Yes, board. Thank you guys. So you guys know that the enrollment we're planning to increase the number of the capacity at the ECC for next school year, and so currently there are about 90 young people there, and we're looking to expand that by about 60 to get closer to 150. So that's going to require some construction to prepare for those students, or for those young people. They're not technically students yet, but they're still ours. So we've got some plans. We've put some bids out. We've got an amount not to exceed 175. I think is what you guys have on there. It's actually going to come in way lower than that. So we're looking at asking for your approval so that we can begin construction on that. I know Blake, Mr. Warren, our Department Director for Maintenance, has been working with scheduling the timeline. You know, we've got to get that finalized by August 1st is our target date. So if once it's approved, we're going to get going on finalizing the quote, and we'll get demo and any work that needs to happen here quickly. But we do have a trusted contractor that we worked with in the past where we're looking at that's going to be the one that's approved. So.
Okay. Board, questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we at the point where we are breaking even financially wise with the ECC? I know it's a matter of, it's a value added thing for our staff that we're not really in it to make money, but I was just curious if we had made it to...
Last year was our first year that we put money into the bank. You know, we received a grant a couple of years ago that has helped us float along.
Yes.
But then we hired a fantastic person who is like an assistant director, along with Kelly Weiss, who was our director, and she still is our director. But they have really worked closely together to help the parents, and we put in ProCare is our system where they can make payments online. So all the payments are now being made through that, not through payroll deduction, not through cash, not through checks. So that really helped amplify up our revenue. And also we changed kind of how we were handling the food situation there, like, providing meals. So we just kind of took a hard look at it and then figured out, okay, what can we do to make this a better program? And last year was the first year we put money into it. So with this expansion, I think it's a new, a toddler room, a 3-year-old room, and a new infant room. And so, and the toddler room is really cool. It's a toilet training room.
Awesome.
I wish that was around when my kids were here, but anyway. But yes, we're feeling really good about the direction of that program.
And do we feel like that we need that capacity, or we're having more people?
We have over 60 to 80 at a time on our waiting list to get in.
Okay,
We
good.
give priority to teachers, children, and
Awesome.
that's a majority that is on that list. And so
Okay.
that will help, as the kids move up, and then we can open up more opportunities for our staff
Okay.
and their children.
Awesome.
Stacey, when do you think in terms of like recouping our investment on 75 with the projected?
Within a year.
Total?
Oh, yeah, within a year. Because the 3 classes that are getting added are the most, if you've ever had children in daycare, those are the most expensive classes, the infants and the 2 and under
Training, yeah.
are the most expensive.
And we offer a better service and a better program than what you could get outside of the school district too.
Right.
So that's why you got to align.
They love it. They love the program. I mean, we have been there a couple of times to kind of scout out the rooms and try to figure out where the expansion could happen, what could we do. And because the bilingual program is moving from Heritage to Rizzuto, it opened up the capacity for us to be able to do that and keep it all in the same
the
area.
campus
Because you don't want part of ECC to be, you want it to be its own entrance. You want us to, all of
Right.
it. So, but yeah, the parents, they were talking us into, well, they thought we had a kid. Yeah, this is a great place. And we're like, we're not married.
I was there last week for the senior walk, and yeah, the it is booming. That whole end of the hallway,
Yeah.
once you get past second grade hall, is babies. I mean, they're all there, and they're just goo-goo-eyed.
They love
It
it.
was really, really cool to see. Go
I
ahead.
can actually speak on, I had, my child transitioned from daycare to ECC during COVID because our daycare didn't reopen. And it was a huge blessing for us. I shopped around other areas and decided on ECC, and it was a blessing during the school year because immediately she had a medical emergency, and because there is a nurse on staff during the school year, and because they do, we had immediate response, and daycares don't have that.
Right.
So it was just such a blessing, but the staff there is so awesome. And several of them transitioned from the previous daycare that we were at, so I know a lot about, know how loving they are,
Right.
but also how much they work with the children on learning all the different skills and stuff. So it was really a blessing for us, and I know it would be a blessing to a lot of other parents.
Yeah, and the district employees are benefiting
Oh, absolutely.
from the.
What is the percent, what kind of discount do the employees get? And also too, I know it's not really the topic tonight, but how many teachers or staff members we have sending their kids there?
Well, let me gather that, and we'll send that to you tomorrow. We'll send it to everybody tomorrow, because I don't have that off the top of my head. I believe it's a 10% discount. Okay, and Dr. Church is shaking her head, but yeah, we'll be able to tell you that.
employees, but I don't have an exact number.
And any percentage discount is a good discount, especially at that level. 'Cause you don't get your pay raise until they get out of that
Well, and
level.
that goes into braces.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to all of this, let me just say strategically, when we have those kids at 0 to 6 months and 6 months to 2 years and 2 years to 4 years, we got a better shot at holding on to them when they're already here. Those parents develop relationships with the school, with the community, with all of us, whether they're a teacher's child or not.
Right.
We got a better shot of really developing that. And so I think this district has benefited greatly from having that. I've been impressed since the day I've walked into this district with ECC, but it's only gotten better and better. And so,
I'm just glad to see it flourishing.
Early literacy.
yes, absolutely.
Any other
Glad to
questions,
see the
board?
program flourishing.
I seek a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We need to call for the vote? Aye?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bobby.
Thank you, board. We'll now move on to the meat and potatoes of tonight's meeting. Item 5, our budget workshop.
All right.
We
so-
do know a little bit more than we did
Yes.
before we called this.
And a little more optimistic about what's happening too, right?
Good.
So as Stacy is on her way up, I just want to say to the board again, tonight as we review the specifics of developing our budget for the upcoming school year, we want to certainly take a moment to remind our board and our entire team and those listening of the significance of this work. And you know that because you've been engulfed in it for some time. The general budget is the single most important document guiding the growth and operation of our school district. And it's more than numbers. It's our governing document that reflects our values, our priorities and the needs of our students and staff and community. This board has consistently demonstrated a deep understanding of and sensitivity to the needs of LaPorte ISD, and we're certainly confident that tonight will be no different. I believe strongly that we will leave this meeting with a clearer, even more clearer direction, one that advances our mission and our vision and continues to move LaPorte ISD forward in every aspect. From safety and security to teacher and staff compensation and beyond. That's what this board does very, very, very well. And I want to say before we even get started, publicly applaud you and thank you for that. Thank you to the board for your continued support, engagement, and commitment to this process. And we also are very thankful to our Chief Financial Officer and her staff for all of the pre-work that she's already done to help guide us through this conversation.
All right, good evening. So in front of you, you'll have the handout that we're going to go through, and then also you have the handout from our compensation plan workshop that we had in April, just for reference, in case you had any questions. So we're going to see if this clicker works. This is...
There you go.
Okay, oh, I go down, okay. So I'm going to stand over. Sure. Can't really see it, I'm sorry. Move up just a tiny bit so I can see the... Thank you, sir. So our discussion items that we're going to talk about tonight are our fiscal year 25 general fund estimated fund balance. We discussed that at our May board meeting, but I wanted to give that information to you again. Our fiscal year 26 tax rate and budget. Fiscal year 26 salary and stipends, things to consider and next steps, and then any questions. But of course, throughout the presentation, if you have questions, please let me know. So these are the two decisions that, at the end of this workshop, that these are the two things that I need direction on, so that I can build our budget for our June 10th adoption. So the M&O tax rate to use for fiscal year 26, and then also what type of raise increase would y'all like me to build into the budget for salary and for stipends, okay? So this is our fiscal year 25 estimated budget. It's in the millions. This is, again, this should look familiar. We discussed this at our May board meeting, but again, I wanted to have it in here. So right now, as we stand, we think that our estimated change in fund balance is going from a negative $14 million deficit to a $7 million deficit. So that's great news. And it's mainly due to our property tax increase from $1 billion from last April to what we finally got finalized in July. So we expect to end fiscal year 25 with a $54 million fund balance. And 150 days of the fund balance is 51 million. Again, another familiar slide, but just as a reminder, building our M&O tax rate, which is our maintenance and operating tax rate, which is what we use to pay all of our bills, pay our employees, pay everything that is not bond related, is it's built on our maximum compressed rate. So that is something the TEA gives to us. It changes every year. So the amount that you have right here is 0.6323. That's what the estimate is of what it's going to be for fiscal year 26. So I'm building what our tax rate might be. Again, that number is an estimate, and that's really the starting building block. So then you go down and you have 4 cents plus another cent. So you have 5 cents that we get to keep all of the tax revenue from that. And then 3 cents that we can either use for a Vader or disaster rate. Those 8 pennies right there, we don't pay any recapture back to the state. And then there's an additional 9 pennies that is called the Tier 2 copper pennies, and that is part of the recapture. And you can either have that through a Vader or through a disaster rate. So there's 12 pennies total that we have the ability to increase our M&O tax rate to pay for all of the maintenance operations of our district. So that would give an M&O tax rate of 0.8023.
I'm sorry, Stacy,
Yes.
so the 0.0823, that is including the 12 cents?
It is.
Okay.
0.8023.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that includes the 12 cents.
Okay.
Okay? So this is, again, current law, because as we know, the 89th legislative session is still underway and for another week. and then it ends. So we don't, as of right now, nothing has been signed into law that would impact what our budget would be. And we'll talk about potential changes in a couple more slides. But just right now, current law, this is what the estimate would be. And again, I point out, as you can see under the payroll expenses, it says no raise. So I'm building this as everything is status quo. Our expenses of this year are the same as next year. Because right now, y'all haven't told me what the raise is, right? So I'm building it just that. So if we use no disaster rate, so that means that we would lose the 3 pennies that we used as a disaster rate this year. Our total revenue would be $115 million. Payroll expenses, non-payroll expenses, and recapture would total up to $127 million. So that would give us, we would adopt a $12 million deficit. And if we estimated that we're going to end at 54, that means that at the end of next year, we would have a $42 million deficit. Coming soon, bond fund. Yes, a bond fund, yes, sir. So if we adopted a 12-cent disaster rate, which due to Hurricane Beryl, we have that option, our revenue increases greatly from 115 to 133. Again, your payroll and non-payroll expenses I'm keeping the same, but your recapture also increases by that same difference almost. So about $10 million. So our total expenses increase about $10 million. But our change in fund balance means since we get to keep so much more revenue, even though our recapture payment's also going up, it actually is just a $4 million deficit. So when you do the math, a disaster rate is going to net the district $8 million this year. Okay? So that gives us a $4 million deficit, which means we would end next year at $50 million fund balance. Yes, sir.
I'm guessing probably tonight we're talking a lot about like if this, if that, is a
Yes.
disaster rate. Can we touch, I know we've had discussions in different meetings about the disaster rate, and so it seems like, I'll speak for everybody on board, but I think we're in favor of utilizing the full disaster rate. Can we say that, can we assume that that's the case?
We want to
Vote on
hear
that tonight?
Yeah, well, we don't get to vote on it tonight. We vote on it in September, but we need to have that direction
Right.
tonight.
That's what I'm saying. Can we have like,
Yes. Absolutely.
now, like
Yes.
going into the rest of this meeting without
Yes.
in my brain?
Yes.
So we know.
Yes.
Just assume.
So we don't have to keep going.
So we can't vote, but we can't have consensus.
Yeah, because you have to give us direction to go build the
Yeah.
budget with
I
that.
believe our general
And
consensus,
if I-
we'd like to take the whole 12
I do
cents.
too.
Okay, perfect. So let me show you what happens.
Sure.
So this is what the tax impact is to homeowners. And do you mind if I get
guess-
close to
Yes,
this?
yes.
Okay. I don't know if that's a pointer, but I'm- Okay, so this, I just wanted to kind of show y'all what the tax impact would be to our homeowners using the disaster rate. So right now in 2025, this is where we are. I used a house that has a property tax appraisal value of $300,000.
Okay.
So our total tax rate is 0.9739. The difference from last year is that, we have the same tax rate as we did last year. So our property valuation is $300,000. The report graciously gives every single homeowner an additional, an optional tax exemption, 20%. I don't know that people understand.
Right.
So that's something that is something we should be really proud of, because not every district does that. So,
Right.
Write that down.
a homeowner automatically, whatever their property valuation is, 20% of that is, they're not paying taxes.
Whether you have a homestead exemption or not, right?
Whether you have a homestead exemption or not. So you could have $1 million home, you're not going to, 20% of that, you don't have to pay taxes. Because the district says, thank you for being our, okay? Then we have our homestead exemption that everybody, has to apply for. Right now, remember, it's 100,000. It was 60 and we went up to 40 2 years ago. So right now it's 100,000. So when you take your 300 minus our 60,000 that we're giving this home, minus the 100, their net taxable value is $140,000.
Oh,
So,
$300,000 home.
so they pay $1,300 on taxes to the district. That's the same thing they did last year. So the next one over here is walking down the same thing. So that's in 2026 with the disaster rate. So our total tax rate would go up to 1.064, so it's a 9-cent increase. It's not 12-cent increase, it's a 9-cent.
we already
Remember that
taken
MCR is our
Actual
millage rate,
compression
and
rate.
it compressed down.
Right.
So that means it's less, that 12 cents doesn't hit as hard.
Right.
So again, kind of doing the math all the way down, it would give us their taxes would go up by $126 for the year, not per month, for the year, so that's like $10. Then we have this one. This is really good news for homeowners and also really great news for our district. Because this is Senate Bill 4. So that's raising our homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000. And for districts, you're kept home harmless. So what that means is, remember that the cups that I showed you where you have to pay, it's not from tax revenue, it's from the state. Home harmless means you still get a whole amount in there. So the tax rate goes down. So this, if it raises from 100 to 140, it's not going to impact us greatly. I mean, we're still going to get the money, we're just going to get it from the state. So, $300,000 house minus the 60 optional homestead minus 140 gives you $100,000. That house would be paying $1,000. That's $300 less with the increased tax rate. They're going to be paying $300 less than.
That's awesome.
So that's a great thing. And this Senate Bill 4 is right in the next thing is to go to the governor. So we're tiptoeing to the end right now, you know.
That's huge.
So that's a great thing for districts, for homeowners, for everyone.
Yeah. That's
So-
awesome.
In our discussion about taxes, obviously it's sensitive to all, and a lot of it is, there's a lot of conjecture clearly, but what people in our community need to know of that $15 billion, tax footprint, most of it is industry.
Yes.
So we have to set these numbers right to address the $15 billion industry to get those revenues.
All of this right here doesn't happen to.
Correct.
They pay their appraised value.
Right.
They get other exemptions.
Right.
Believe me, they do.
Business
But they don't get these. But yes, they are what is
The lion's
$15
share.
billion that we're having, that they're the lion's share. Correct.
And I only say that because obviously people will listen to it, but also we're trying to educate everybody that, hey, this is kind of how it works. Same thing with the bonds and stadium stuff. It's 10 cents on the dollar for rooftops compared to the industry footing the majority of the bill. And for everybody that complains about traffic and warehouses and all that stuff, if we're getting money for it. So at least we're getting money for it. I mean, we're not going to change it. It is what it is. So we are getting the benefit of those in this way. And I think we need to do a better job of kind of educating people so they know, because I really think if they looked at it through that lens, it's going to change the conversation entirely. It really does, because it makes more sense when you look at it this way. I think a $300 property value is fair. That's pretty average around here for a lot of people. And if obviously your home is valued less than that, and obviously the tax bill also is less.
Correct.
So I don't know. I appreciate that. It's a great illustration. Jeff, I think that was a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that. If we can assume
Then we'll
that we're
assume.
taking it for our discussions the rest of the day.
Also, after the slide, I'm going to assume that there are, we can get that full, that rate, but also we assume they're going to have a bit of a savings on it, right? Like when we're making our decision tonight or whatever, we're assuming that the state's going to give us some reprieve. And so we need this money. We're assuming that we're going to have a deficit budget this year, so we need to take full advantage of that.
Yes.
disaster rate.
Yes, and everything you just said, I completely agree with, and that's exactly what I needed to know so I can move forward. Y'all just answered question 1 for me, so thank you very much. Okay, well, great. Now we're on to question number 2. Perfect timing. The next part that we're going to talk about is salary and raise increases for salaries and stipends. So again, this is I just want to again provide this for you. This is our historical raise amounts that the district has given, and from our compensation plan workshop, we took what you had asked for, and we'll talk about that in the next couple slides. But first off, let's talk about our starting teacher salary, because that was one of the concerns and that was brought up at our conversation. We moved from $60,000 as a starting teacher to $61,000 last year. We created a teacher pay schedule that's now published and is available for everybody. Speaking to, and as you can see on the right side of the screen, we're one of the lowest ones. We do know that our neighbor is increasing theirs to 63. So
We believe that.
we believe that. I've been told that. So My recommendation, and Dr. Jackson and I's recommendation, is also to move up as a starting teacher salary to keep us competitive with other districts. And what that would look like is, it's a starting teacher salary was 63 with $400 step every year. Move up $400 each time. That's very normal.
Right,
That's
and it keeps
a good number.
it keeps a second-year teacher from making the same amount as a first-year teacher.
Right.
And that has happened in districts before,
Right.
when you don't have a step in there.
Yeah.
So that's something that we would like y'all to consider and think about, is making that jump up, because as you saw here, we give wonderful, the culture, the district, employee distribution for our insurance is the highest in the area. So we do a lot of different things, but as you can see, we are.
But you still want your teachers to be able to see that. One of the things that I want to call to the board's attention is, we don't compete directly with all of those districts up there, but the ones that we are closely competing with, we're trying to stay as neck and neck as we possibly can.
Sure.
So we took the ones that we're closest to do that.
And closest in...
Channel View is not really our competition,
No.
is what I'm trying to say.
Geographically, these are close,
Yeah.
but obviously in enrollment
Right.
and size of we're the smallest by a lot.
People are not going to leave here and go to Channel View.
I love the idea of stepping it up, like keep up with that every year. Problem is, we'll have the same argument again next year if that Russell's company wants to go and they raise it from 63 to 65, then what are we going to do then? Right? Like, why don't we do a step this year? Because it's continuing to be the same problem. They're going to continue because it's Deer Park. They want to help us and everything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if we go forward next year, they're going to be like, well, this could be 67, 68, and 70. Like, how do we compete against that?
But they're playing it close, and when I say they, I'm talking about all of our competitors. They're playing it close to the vest as well, because no one really has this coffer of money to just play with. So everybody's just being as careful. I hear what you're saying, but we're all playing it very close to the line because we just don't know. Now, we know what's going to happen should this House Bill 2 pass. We'll have that for the biennium, which is 2 years. But there are some things that are still unknown, and it's up to the board. It's your pleasure if you want us to do that. That was just our conservative recommendation.
So if we did go somewhere, just playing the game, if we went to $65,000 as a starting teacher salary, I know, I'm just making up numbers.
Yeah.
64, sorry, 64. If we went to 64, how do we make sure that the teachers going into the second year aren't
Thank
making
you.
less?
That's exactly.
Which is why we have that step.
Right, it is a step, but also you've got your teachers this year at 61. So next year, they need to make, if we're raising it up to 63, they need to make 63.4. Get it?
Yeah,
Right?
to be ahead of a
and then
brand new.
Right, to be $400 more than
So it's
they're
just
starting.
cost
They're all getting
So
it.
it does,
Yeah.
it's a trickle down, you're correct, it's a trickle down effect through that. And so it's through, calculations that George and I go through and make sure, okay, who is an outlier, what do we need to do? And we'll address that in the next slide. If I don't, mind if I move on forward?
Go ahead.
Okay. We talked about this is what it would look like. So here's salary increases. Again, we're talking current law only. And I'm also talking current law, meaning we don't know any of the House bill stuff, because none of that has been signed into law. And then I'm only talking about general fund right now, because general fund is what y'all have to adopt. Of course, we do have other employees that are paid by the different funds. They would still get whatever raise y'all tell us, but I just give you the numbers for. So a 1% raise for general fund, every time you raise, do a raise increase by 1%, $550,000. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Somebody's telling me that they can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, well, I'm good.
Didn't know we were being.
I'm good. Am I okay? Okay. I apologize. I'm a mover and
Thank
a
you.
pointer, and I'm sorry. Okay, so I gave you 4 different options up here. So 3% raise for all employees.
Looks like you're about to perform a concert.
I feel like it, right? Is $1.65 million. And then we go to option 2 is a 4%. That would cost $2.2 million. That, see right here, will bring teachers in line to that pay scale. So for a teacher, like what we just talked about, starting teacher this year was 61,000. Yeah, I know. For
Make
them
that
to
your
be.
Man, they'll be beating the door down.
Everybody wants to work on the floor. First year teacher this year, 61,000. they would need to be 63.4 next year. To get them to 63.4, that's a 4% increase. So a 4% raise would do that for all the teachers going forward on that
For
step.
the whole scale.
For the whole scale, all the way down.
Okay.
Once you do one,
Everybody.
It
it
hits
flows
everybody.
down. It does, yes.
Okay.
5% is 2.75, and then Ms. Thompson had asked for the breakout of if we did, as we had done, I believe it was in 2021, 5% for teachers, 4% classroom paras, and 3% for every other employee. That costs 2.5. So that's kind of where the breakout is. Again, this is
Current law.
current law.
So, to that point, if we were to do this, let's just say we did the 5% raise, all employees across the board, 2.75, and House Bill 2 passes, goes through, governor signs it, goes in a law, and if you were to take those monies, it actually equated to a 6-point raise. What would we do?
We amended,
We amend it for the 1%,
yes.
okay, to
So-
bring it to...
Right, so let me kind of say it back to you in this way.
Okay.
So if I'm, and you know what, I'm going to hold that because I'm going to talk
okay,
about it in just
okay.
a minute. Y'all know exactly what I'm about to present, right? Okay, so here's House Bill 2.
Okay.
So House Bill 2, what we learned this past week, so I appreciate y'all allowing us to give another week to let the legislature kind of come up, do what they do, and kind of come to some kind of consensus. When we met and talked, I believe, I can't remember if it was in the compensation plan meeting or maybe the past meeting in May, we talked about, it was in the compensation meeting. We talked about what House Bill 2 said, and at that time, what it said was that whatever you gain, you have to get 40% and then 75%,
Right.
and it went to teachers, nurses, counselors, librarians. All of that is thrown away. Because they sent that to the Senate, and then Senate said, no.
We
I
want to do
this
something
instead.
different, yeah.
Right. Which, for districts, it really is, this is more beneficial.
Right.
This actually helps us do this. And it makes it more impactful to teachers across the board. So what this says is, House Bill 2, for the next 2 years, the state will provide an allotment to districts to pay for the salary increase for teachers, and this is for a district our size, 5,001 students or more. So teachers with 3 or 4 years of experience would get $2,500 this year, and they get $2,500 next year, automatic. That's their
Already
raise.
built into it.
Teachers with 5 years of experience would get $5,000 this year and $5,000 next year. So what that, for us, for this year, it's 48 teachers with 3 to 4 years experience, and then 5 and over is 383 teachers. Which, when I look at that, I think, look at the longevity that we have in our district. I think that's
And we need to
impressive.
take care of
It
them.
is.
And then, again, with the cost. So total allotment that the state would give us is $2 million, because they're paying for this raise for the next 2 years.
What happens after that?
So here's just.
Exactly.
We've been having that
We don't
conversation
know.
for a week now, right?
And that's, I'm telling y'all, I feel like Dr. Jackson sent my presentation,
No,
you're asking all the right
we've all been
questions.
saying the same things, you know?
Yes. We don't know.
Because if you're not careful, this could bloat your budget and, you know.
Absolutely.
Because if you have to do that and we do a
When they
percent,
when they pull out though.
I know.
So you don't do the percent if you do that,
For
right?
teachers only, they get this.
Okay.
The percent raise is for everyone
Right, yes,
else.
okay.
Right.
Right. That's
So this
how
would
that
take the
works.
place of the percent.
That would take the place. So to Mr. Hanks' point, let's say I am a teacher and y'all went with a 4% raise, and my raise was, I don't know, $3,000. But I have to get $5,000 because the state tells me I have to get
We would
$5,000.
make it whole.
We're going to make you whole. All of those teachers, we're going to physically touch and give them their $5,000. And it's going to be a salaried amount. It's not a one-time payment. It's not a makeup. I'm going to give you, I only gave you, said your salary's going to be up to this, so I'm going to give you a $2,000 one-time payment. Nope. It's their salary throughout the year. The reason we don't do a one-time payment is because what if they leave us next month and we just paid them $2,000?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not doing that. And two, that's not how the law's written.
That's right.
It
It's
has to be
salary
a
and not a
salary,
stipend.
not a stipend or a one-time payment.
How does the state classify teachers? Like, what I mean is like, they include counselors, interventionists,
No.
reading specialists?
It is the teacher of record. meaning they are a classroom teacher.
Classroom teacher.
So everything else is not considered a teacher.
Which is where the big debate has been, where that's where the impasse has been.
Because in the old days, teacher was really librarian, counselor,
it was-
teacher, the whole 9 yards, right?
But it
Except for
sounds,
administrators.
now you can correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like the Senate and the House got together and some of the concessions were made, they did address that, they came back and earmarked.
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Perhaps it has, it just hasn't come across my desk yet, or anything that I'm
Not
reading
from my
or
groups
being
yet.
informed
But it
of.
could, but I haven't seen it yet.
And if it does, we'll obviously do
We'll
it,
adjust
but,
it.
yeah.
Do we have what that percentage is? Say what that percentage is?
$2,500 for a teacher with 3 to 4 years, or?
Yeah, both of those.
Let me see.
If we're looking at with the percentage as a whole, and then
What would it be?
What would it be for
So
these
let us calculate that for you real quick.
Compared to what we.
So George, can you calculate what the average teacher salary, I believe that is 68?
Wasn't it
What's the average teacher?
67 something on one of our?
Let's just say 68, because it's 67 and some change.
Yeah.
So 68, what is $2,500 of that, and then what's 5,000?
3.5.
It'll be 3.5.
So, yes, there's,
Go on with yourself right there.
okay, so I'm
So
gonna,
64.2, we'll say 3 years, we'll do the low side, 64.2, 2,500 into 65.2, yeah.
5,000 is
2,500,
3.6.
so right at 4%. Would be for the 2,500 and, or 7.5 for the 5,000.
They're focused on retention,
They are.
We have to be.
So,
but also what's absent from this is there's zero adjustment for the 1-2, the new teachers.
Correct. Right, they haven't met
Yeah.
there, they haven't proven themselves, is how,
Right.
what is my thought.
So if that is the
They would
collective,
they would get whatever raise you give them.
right. However, my point is if the state is gonna live, I hate to say this, but that they're just gonna be flopping in the wind.
Good.
Those 1-2 year people that have no, the whole state is looking at it that way. They're not getting any funds for 1 or 2 either. So it will have to come out of your savings account
Correct.
that you have right now
Yeah.
to do it. And there's a lot of schools that don't have the funds to address the 1-2s.
Right.
Correct,
And I'm not saying that they're not important, but they do have to,
right. You're exactly right.
And your large urban schools are running
Really?
11, 1,200 brand new teachers. Subsidized.
Can you imagine these small West Texas schools where their starting teacher salaries $48,000, $50,000, and you pop a $5,000 bonus on it?
And that was the purpose.
hold
that
on,
was
there's
some of the purpose for that.
double.
There's 10.
Because they're gonna be the small.
Oh, yeah, they're a small one, yes, they will get double.
That's the purpose, to try to hold on to them.
And
I mean, 'cause that's
They've not been on our scale for all of these years, you know?
So I'm going to move on to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
real quick, Okay? So let's talk about House Bill 2. We've already kind of addressed it.
Yeah, right.
Whatever the state gives in that allotment, that's the allotment, that $2,500, $5,000. This, we're talking, if the House Bill 2 goes through, then you only have to decide what kind of raise do you want for the rest of the employees.
Right.
Right? Because the teachers have been told, you're getting what House Bill 2 is going to get. So raise for other employees, again, this is general fund only. So if a 3% raise, this is for every teacher every employee that's not a teacher, would cost us $736,000. Because we're getting that money from the state. We're getting that $2 million that's going to pay this. So
We're paying the difference.
we're paying the difference. This is coming out of our fund balance. That's how you really have to think about this. This is whatever raise you're going to give is coming out of our fund balance. So a 3% is $736,000. I put stipends on here, and we'll talk about that separately, because that was a part of the conversation. The compensation plan is whatever you give, whatever the board decides to give, they might give the same as to the stipend. So just kind of ignore the stipend piece right now, and we'll come back to that. But a 4% would be a little less than $1 million. A 5% would be $1.23 million. Again, this is for everyone else. But then the point that Mr. Martin made, that's something to consider, is if House Bill 2 is signed into law and we receive this $2 million for the next 2 years, so we get this $4 million, we don't know what the state's going to do in the next legislative session. Meaning, we don't know if they're going to say, okay, we're going to continue to give you this money, or say, no, you got to figure it out now. Because they've done that before. They have given us many directives that were initially funded and then taking the funding away.
And that's a significant increase to your overall budget.
Right,
If the state
that's-
is not pitching that in.
That's a $2 million raise, and what you can't do is say, in 2 years, well, we're going to give a raise to everyone else but teachers.
No.
We would never do that. Correct? But that's something thank you for bringing it up. We thought about the same thing, and I just wanted to point it out to everybody. So when you are thinking about what type of raise you want to give to all other employees, if House Bill 2 passes, that's why Dr. Jackson and I are so conservative, because we don't know. And we don't want to do something that's going to, because when you give a raise,
Yeah. Can't go
that's
back.
coming out of your fund balance.
So here we have it where we're going to give this raise for all employees, I mean, other than teachers,
That's,
obviously.
again, that's your choice.
But, what if we went to the model that you had on the other one where we gave X amount to like the classroom paraprofessionals and then this amount to the other people? I don't know if that would be something we could consider instead of just a blanket, like look at it, break it down.
Flat perspective, yeah.
Break it down to where we're
We
looking at.
can break that down for if House Bill 2 goes, and then this is what it would be. So you would want that model
I just think
this model
sometimes we,
without the
I can always
teachers in
remember
it.
teachers talking about how, well, of course, they were getting more, but like, yeah, I'm getting a 3% pay increase, and, no offense to anybody in this room, but, they're over there getting 3% of a hell of a lot more, and so they felt undervalued. Now, that's perception.
Correct.
And so, but if you look at it at a level, sometimes it's more affordable.
But look at the ticket prices of each, 2.5 million and 2.2 million, right?
Yeah. But I think what I'm saying though is that.
But I understand- I understand what you're saying.
I don't know, I just.
But the dollar amount is still a pretty hefty amount.
But
Yeah,
it
it's still a
wouldn't
lot,
be,
no
because
question.
the 5% for teachers would be out of that
You
number.
would pull it
Yeah,
out.
right, yeah.
So then it would be, what you
At
could
least
do is not 5% for the counselors, nurses, librarians, 4%, 3%. You could do something like that. We could model that for you and give that to you tomorrow, if that's something that you want to consider.
I think, just in our collective conversations, here or there, I do think that there are certain groups on the campuses that we've got to tune up a little bit, but we've got to be careful because we don't want to create this infighting with
Yes.
exactly your point where this group got something, but I didn't get anything, and now you start to have a morale
Going back
issue.
to what Jeff said about,
last year.
if you, for years, counselors and reading specialist librarians were included in that teacher, genre, whatever. Because I remember when I became a diagnostician, I was still a teacher, right? So that everything applied to teacher.
That whole, yeah.
And I'm of the opinion that if you are a counselor, a librarian, if you're looking at kids and how they're being educated inside that building, that you should kind of be treated equally. So, because we need good counselors. We need good, librarians and reading interventionists and things like that. So to say that they're not, because they are teaching, we all know that. Sometimes those counselors are in the classroom because there's not a teacher. So anyway, just something to think about.
I agree. I think right now the overwhelming concern is sustainability beyond the
That's the big
biennial.
thing.
So, that's why you have to really carefully look at stipends because it's a one-time, it's a payment, it's a debt, it's a one-time bill we paid and that's over, right? It's not.
Well, no, different stipends are paid monthly or each paycheck. Most of them are.
But they're
There's
gonna
very few
total-
that are not paid part of their.
The paraprofessionals are twice a year, right?
Right,
That's
there's,
what we do with them.
yes, there are very few that are not.
Do we know how much insurance is going to go up?
We do not. We won't know that until the middle of June, hopefully.
You're watching this meeting to decide how far.
Yeah, it could be.
Probably.
Our open
See what
enrollment
their
starts
rate
July
is. That's how
7th,
much
so
it's
we will
gonna
know
go
it
up.
before then. Yeah.
Starts when?
July 7th. So we'll know it before then, but we don't know.
Well, last year it was what, 30%?
No,
How much was
it
it?
was like 8.
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
It's like $30.
$30, I'm sorry, that's right. Okay, so like 8.
So I looked at like, if you had like, say, $70,000 employee and they go up $5,000, that's about, it's a little over 7% raise. And so, the more I look at it, more, I guess, in favor, I definitely don't want to minimize what y'all are saying about like the tier structure. The only thing, if we were to go that route, I would be adamant to keep the paras on the same level as the teachers, because $14 an hour para, that goes from a 4% raise is 56 cents. Right. 5% raise is 7 cents. You're talking about 14 cents, right? Like,
Yeah.
be higher than that.
I
Anyway,
agree.
to say, at the very minimal, those should not get less than what I feel strongly
Well, I mean, they're
about.
one of those people that touch those kids every day in the classroom. So, I mean, to me, they should be treated the same as
And
far
again,
as that.
if we're talking about being a trendsetter and trying to get ahead of some of that stuff, we know that that's a growing population. Everybody is facing that same issue, and where we can be competitive in that area, we've got to be more attractive in that area, right? To find the people that have the heart for that.
For that job, yeah.
That's tough.
And one of the things that kind of keeps niggling in my head is, maybe I should stop reading Facebook, but the number of people that have posted that we're the lowest paid, one of the lowest paying districts in the area, but yet we've built a $53 million stadium. And so, and that's not incorrect, but.
Well, actually, it is incorrect.
Well, I mean,
It is incorrect.
if you look on this sheet,
Well,
that you have.
that's not the average teacher salary, that's a starting teacher salary.
Well, but that's what they're looking at. They're going
Okay.
online and pulling
But
that off.
they can also pull the teacher
Right,
pay
but-
scale and see that
So-
we're not.
But all I'm
That's
saying
fine.
is that when you look at it, you want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves out there, like that. So with the
Correct,
starting
but we
salary.
would also want to speak truth to truth.
Oh, absolutely,
Right, so-
absolutely.
So just
Hopefully they're
kinda tell us what
watching
y'all are
and see
looking
the
for.
truth to truth.
Like for noodling in your.
Let's go around. What are your initial thoughts? We got to have a starting point. What are we thinking? What are your thoughts?
Go ahead, Deanne.
Go ahead, Deanne. Let me look back at
Well,
this.
I'm gonna, if you mind, I'll just,
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I just have
Sorry.
one more
Keep going,
slide.
yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Stacy.
Well, what we didn't talk about was the stipend increase, and this is how much it would be, so that's something also to keep in mind.
That is.
And for clarification, that's the stipends for the additional.
It's
Additional
any
duties.
stipends that are paid for additional duties, yes.
Yeah.
All of them would be impacted, all of them would be touched.
Academic coaches,
Every single one of them.
Everything across the board, right?
At the back
Fine
of your,
Fine arts.
at the back of your compensation plan, under the supplemental pay is where that stands.
Go ahead.
Okay? So things to consider, we already talked about number one, and number two is just to continue to fundraises and inflationary costs for the district. The board will need to consider a VADR for fiscal year 2027, which would be the November 26th election. And then just next steps. Again, June 2nd is the end of the legislative session. June 10th is when we will have our June board meeting and have a public hearing to discuss the budget and tax rate. And we will ask the board to adopt the fiscal year 26 budget and the compensation plan. Again, they will be amended. It's okay, but the board, if the board does not approve it, we can't pay. Okay. June 22nd is the last day for Governor Abbott to approve the bill, so just because June 2nd is the end of the session, he actually has till June 22nd. Well, by that time, we would have already asked you to adopt the budget. So fiscal year 26 begins on July 1st. July 28th, we receive our certified tax values, which will be used to amend the fiscal year 26 budget, along with the maximum pressed rate. And then in September or October is when we will actually ask you to adopt the tax rate. So we're not talking anything, I just need to know what the tax rate so I can build the budget, and then we can amend it
That's when you
later.
take your vote on that.
Yes.
And that's all I have for you. So I already have the first question answered,
Yes.
so we're good on that.
So we need to,
From the board,
we need
yes.
to find an agreeable, something we can work to at least build this.
Can we go to?
What type of, anybody has floor, any of you, I'm still processing it.
I'm processing too, but I almost think on the starting teacher salary, when I look at surrounding districts, that we may need to go to 63.5. So we're a little more,
They're a little ahead. That's good.
I mean, Channelview is the next closest within reason there and closest to enrollment. I know that we're not, next door neighbors or anything, but they're at 64.
or?
I think Channelview may have to overcompensate because they may have other challenges.
Yeah.
Just
They
my
do.
2 cents.
Correct.
Oh, whatever you guys decide, I just would like, if possible, we put something in writing that says, look, we're gonna keep it like this, at least on a tier structure for the next 3 to 5 years. Because I guarantee next year is gonna happen again. There's gonna be another district, Clear Lake, Baytown, where you're gonna be like, well, we raised it to this. And, you know, we're gonna be tempted again to go, well, we need to raise ours again, and adjust everybody else again. I really like the idea of this tier, like the structure, the step structure. Well, we just have to have something to kind of meet in place and say, like, we're not gonna be
Don't count on this
swayed
every
by
year.
Deer Park every other year.
And I will just say, like, I mean, you can kind of see we haven't had the pay scale steps like we've had in the past. That was, last year was the first year for that. But you can see that we have kind of thought of that in the past, where we don't, you know, we've kept it steady from, we had a jump from 22 to 23, and then we kept it steady, and then we just did a $1,000 jump. So this would be, like a $2,000 step would be what we did in 22, 23, and from 20, yeah. So,
I'm just a dumb chamber guy, but to me, if I was in your seat, Dr. Jackson, I would expect a dinner from the superintendent of Deer Park if we went to like a step program, because like, that makes it less likely that they feel like they have to go and raise their stuff every
oh, they're
time.
on a step. They
They
do.
are.
Oh, yes, they
Yeah.
have always been on a step.
We're on a step too.
So, okay, then that's different for me, then what, like, do we know what is theirs, ours?
Theirs is going to be 63.
No, but what is a step, is it $400?
Oh, it's less than ours.
Yeah.
That's why I said when we did 400, we're beating. And I feel like that's the place to be
Edging out.
versus the starting salary. Yeah.
Sorry.
They range between 375. And sometimes they build them and they're different amounts as you get longer. Like it gets less when you get longer, it's just,
I'd rather be in like a bidding war, if you will, on a step program.
Agreed.
As opposed to
Than
like.
the salary.
I agree with that. And I feel like we're competitive with the step.
Yeah, so again, Dan, I'm good with 63, 63.5, whatever you guys like the idea of this.
Just know when you do 63.5, that means that 4% would get you a teacher for the 0 to 1, 2 teachers, get them into that next step. Because when you raise it $2,000, remember we talked about from 61 to 63, year 1 teachers now have to make 63.4.
Can you go
right?
back to that, the step slide? But they're going to get that from the state.
No, not the 0.
Not one and, not
Not the
zero,
1 and 2.
0, 1, and 2 will not.
Yeah.
The raise that y'all provide will.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I got you
You're not in
now. I
there.
got you.
So a 4, that's why I felt comfortable with coming to you with a 3%, because 3%, 3,000,
63.
300, a $2,000 increase, because from the compensation plan conversation, it seemed like 4 was, that's kind of what I felt from you, and from what I remember you saying. So that's why I felt good, and then also knowing that our neighbors are going to go to that number, it just made sense. Kind of fell in line. Of course, we're here to do at your pleasure how you would want, but we're conservative.
Yeah, and I'll encourage the board, as you continue with contemplating and really reflecting on this. We've proven that we can keep teachers, you know.
Yeah, you
once
can
we
see
go-
that in the numbers.
But we need to really we need to really deeply think about, do we really want to invest in trying to hold on to the new ones that we're bringing in, right? And I know your answer to that.
We
but
need
I'm
to figure
saying-
out if that's our strategy or not.
Yeah, we need to figure out if that's our strategy, because we already know that the 5 to 10, 15, 20-year folks are here, and they're going to benefit from what the state does for them in the next few weeks. But we've got to certainly figure out what are we going to do to kind of attract and then hold those youngsters, so that in 10 years, they're the ones that are now the leaders in our district. So you almost have to constantly do that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, remind me, we do a signing bonus, or we don't?
No,
We don't do anything of that
We
sort?
do not. We do not. We do not. And Melissa, I'll say to you, we don't do that because we are not in that dire situation that some of our, there are so many wonderful things that happen around here that we don't have to deal with my peers. There's a reason why they run to 64, 65 quicker than we can get there, because they have to. in order to attract folks that way. We're still not there, but we do want to make certain, and I think everybody here agrees with that once we get them here, we want to take very good care of them so that they don't want to leave behind salary for any other reason.
Board, there's been a request to go to closed to discuss the sensitive nature of some of the compensation deals, so we are going to adjourn and go to a closed session, and we will resume after those discussions. So we can go back in the back real quick.
Hey, before we do that, yeah, it goes places like new teachers. Do we have, like, we always do like a new teacher lunch, so it's typically 80 to 120 new teachers. Do we have any like roundabout estimate or talking about budget numbers, I mean, new teachers we need to hire?
Dr. Rhodes, do you have an idea of how many new teachers we're planning on bringing in this year?
First year teachers or just?
No, new to the district.
New to the district.
To the district.
That's usually around 75 to 80 or
Yeah.
so, or higher.
Historically, it seems lower than that. About 60. But I mean,
But that's what,
yeah. But,
I didn't think about that, but out of that number, like percentage-wise, like roundabout, how many of those do you think would be for first-year teachers?
first year teachers, we have 4, right?
Okay.
so it's not
So it's not a
impacting a
huge-
ton.
yeah.
No, it's not impacting.
And that ebbs and
everybody.
flows.
Right.
This year is a very good year for all of us, I really think, and I've said that to you
Right.
several
Yeah, I was
times.
going to say, I remember
The
when.
better we do on the back half, the less we have to worry about the top.
It ebbs and flows.
You know?
We're-
That's true.
But board, we're gonna go to closure, and we will be back.
Need to say what time it is.
It is now 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
That was the last thing I heard.
I will tell you this, I've seen Centerpoint all around the court though.
I don't care about these.
Hey, I marked mine already.
Walter, are we supposed to turn these in?
Yes.
Well, hold on, how they gonna know it's who?
Put your name.
What's your name? Right,
Oh,
being
oh.
somewhere.
I see what you did there.
You're thinking and stuff.
I don't really care to, you put whatever y'all want.
Yeah, I'll do who.
I just want to do all of
I'm
them.
not gonna worry about that. Do I do all of that?
Or soy.
Who wants it candid?
At Rock the Dock, I haven't been to Rock the Dock since the dock was being rocked.
Are they changing the way they do, the walk? Because normally the principal gives it to them and we just stand up there and tell them congratulations.
Mr. Shoppy will be right with us, and we appreciate your patience. We are back from closed session at 6:58. Ms. McDowell, we do have a couple proposals we would like to see. One, if House Bill 2 passes, we would like to see the starting salary taken up to $63,000, a 4% raise for all employees, and a 5% raise for stipend increase. If House Bill 2 fails, we would still like the starting salary to be adjusted to $63,000, but a 3% raise for all employees and a 3% raise on the stipend. So those are the two things. And I appreciate, I know we had to step aside and obviously this is a very sensitive subject. We're talking about compensation, but there's the
Thank you.
deal there. Board, did I miss anything? We're good?
Think you got it.
All right, well then, with all matters discussed,